Hey, pull up a chair for a second. Let's just sit down and have a real talk. I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. I know you've got a million things you could be doing with your evening. You could be studying, you could be working on a project, you could be hanging out with your friends, or let's be completely honest, you could be lying face down on your bed, scrolling through short form videos until your eyes blur over and your neck cramps up. But you chose to come here to share this physical space with me and with each other, and I don't take that lightly. I appreciate you. Before we get rolling, I want to establish a quick ground rule for our chat tonight. I'm not here to yell at you. I'm not here to lecture you. I'm not here to hand down a sentence, and I'm definitely not here to play the role of the disappointed, out-of-touch authority figure who thinks everything was perfect back in the good old days. The world changes, things evolve, and every generation has to navigate its own unique landscape. You are dealing with an environment that no generation in human history has ever had to face before. And honestly, you're doing all right. I see how hard you're trying. I see the immense weight of expectations you carry around on those shoulders. I see the anxiety that hums beneath the surface of your daily life. And I see how deeply you want to make something meaningful out of your time on this planet. But because I care about you, and because I want to see you win, and I mean really win, on your own terms, feeling happy, secure, and fulfilled, we need to have a completely unfiltered, completely honest conversation. We need to look at a massive elephant in the room that we all pretend not to see. You know that specific heavy frustration you've been carrying around in your chest lately? That lingering feeling that you're stuck in place? You wake up in the morning, and before your feet even hit the floor, there's this vague sense of dread or inadequacy. You look at your life, socially, mentally, creatively, financially, and you realize there's a massive, painful gap between where you currently are and where you desperately want to be. You want deeper friendships. You want to feel calm and clear in your own mind. You want to have a creative outlet that fulfills you. You want to build financial independence so you don't have to stress about paying the bills or surviving month to month. And when you sit in that frustration, you start trying to diagnose the problem. You look outward. You think, maybe it's just the economy. Maybe the job market is completely broken. Maybe my childhood permanently messed me up. Maybe I just don't have the right genetics or the right connections or enough luck. You look for these massive, structural, external villains to blame for the fact that your life feels like it's running in place on a treadmill. But tonight, I need you to listen to me with an entirely open mind. I need you to drop your defenses, set aside the reflexive rationalizations, and just sit with the raw truth for a moment. I know you're probably going to want to roll your eyes before the words even finish leaving my mouth. I know this phrase has become an absolute meme, a punchline that older people throw around whenever they don't understand modern culture. But I'm telling you this with absolute love, clarity, and urgency. It really is that damn phone. I know. I can practically hear the collective sigh in the room. Great. We bought a ticket to hear a guy in a flannel shirt give us the standard "phones are bad" lecture. Thanks, Dad. Real cutting-edge stuff. But stay with me. I'm not a Luddite. I'm not telling you that technology is inherently evil, or that we should all discard our devices, burn down the cell towers, and go live off the grid in the mountains, weaving our own clothes and eating tree bark. Technology is a tool. It is an incredibly powerful, miraculous tool. In your pocket right now, you have access to the entirety of accumulated human knowledge. You can learn quantum mechanics, study ancient Roman history, learn how to fix an engine, or speak to someone on the exact opposite side of the globe in real time, completely for free. That is magic. But there is a massive, terrifying difference between using a tool and being used by a tool. If you pick up a hammer to drive a nail into a wall and then you put the hammer down when the job is done, you are using a tool. But if you pick up the hammer and the hammer suddenly glues itself to your palm, starts controlling the movements of your arm, dictates where you look, tells you what to think, wakes you up in the middle of the night, and refuses to let you look at your family or your work without staring through its metallic reflection, you are no longer the craftsman. You are the instrument. Right now, for the vast majority of us, that little rectangular slab of glass, copper, and aluminum isn't our assistant. It's our boss. And let's be incredibly real. It is a toxic, abusive, manipulative boss. It pays you in tiny, worthless drops of cheap dopamine while systematically robbing you of your focus, your relationships, your wealth, your mental peace, and your future. It is the great magic trick of the 21st century. It convinces you that it is giving you everything: connection, entertainment, information, status, while quietly, invisibly, reaching into your pockets and stealing the only non-renewable asset you actually possess: your finite time on this earth. Let's take off the blinders and break down exactly how this device is actively sabotaging every single pillar of the life you're trying to build. Because once you see the engineering behind the trap, once you understand how the illusion works, you can't unsee it. And that is where your freedom begins. Let's start at the absolute foundation of your life, your mind. Everything you create, every relationship you build, every dollar you earn, and every ounce of happiness you experience originates in the quiet space between your ears. If that space is chaotic, fractured, and polluted, everything you build on top of it will be unstable. Let me ask you a question, and I want you to answer it honestly in your own head. When was the last time you were just bored? And I don't mean bored for 5 seconds while an app loads. I mean truly, deeply, unstructuredly bored. When was the last time you sat on a porch or stood in a long line at the grocery store or sat on a bus or waited for a friend at a coffee shop and just looked at the wall? Just letting your eyes trace the patterns in the drywall, letting your thoughts drift wherever they wanted to go, listening to the ambient sounds of the world around you, processing your day? For most of you, it's probably been months, maybe even years. The modern human brain almost never experiences unstructured stillness anymore. The very instant there is a microsecond of quiet, the moment the elevator door closes, the second the red light turns red, the moment a conversation pauses, or the brief intermission between tasks, your hand automatically, unconsciously dives into your pocket. It's an involuntary muscle reflex. It happens before you even consciously register that you wanted to do it. You pick up the phone, light up the screen, and boom, you are consuming. Every single time you do that, you are actively participating in an intense, high-repetition training program for your brain. But you aren't training it to be stronger. You are training it to be weaker. You're conditioning your neural pathways to accept a very dangerous premise. I'm incapable of being alone with my own thoughts for 60 seconds without requiring external stimulation. Think about what happens to a physical muscle if you never put any weight on it, if you carry it in a sling every day and never force it to contract or stabilize itself. It atrophies. It withers away until it's weak, soft, and useless. That is exactly what we are doing to our capacity for deep attention and mental stability. We have placed our attention spans in a permanent digital sling. We live in a culture that treats attention like a luxury item. But it isn't a luxury. It is the core currency of human achievement. Every single piece of valuable work, every great artistic creation, every profound philosophical breakthrough, and every complex skill requires sustained, uninterrupted, deep focus over long periods of time. If you want to learn how to write clean code, if you want to master an instrument, if you want to understand complex financial markets, if you want to write a script, you have to be able to sit in a chair, lock your mind onto a single problem, and stay there through the frustration, through the boredom, and through the resistance. But how can you possibly do that when you have spent years training your brain to expect a shiny new hit of visual and auditory novelty every 7 seconds? You sit down to read a book that could genuinely change the trajectory of your career. You open to page 1. You read the first paragraph. Your brain says, okay, this is decent, but it's requiring effort. Where's the shiny thing? By the time you get to page 2, your internal dopamine levels drop slightly. An uncomfortable feeling of restlessness creeps into your chest, and your brain begins screaming for a hit of notification juice. Your hand twitches toward the phone. You tell yourself, I'll just check my messages for 1 second to make sure nothing urgent is happening. You pick it up, you unlock it. 2 hours later, you wake up from a digital trance. You are vertical scrolling through videos of people dancing, strangers arguing about politics, or dogs doing tricks. The book is closed on the table. The sun has gone down. Your head hurts, your eyes feel dry, and you feel this profound, hollow sense of shame washing over you. You ask yourself, why do I have no willpower? Why am I so lazy? You aren't lazy. You have just systematically dismantled your brain's ability to focus by feeding it a constant diet of digital junk food. You've replaced your mental endurance with a hyper-reactive feedback loop, and the cost of that is immense. When you lose your focus, you lose your ability to think deeply. When you lose your ability to think deeply, you lose your agency. You stop choosing your life. You simply react to the stimuli being thrown at your face. Let's move from the mind to the heart. Your social life, your relationships, your community. If you look at the statistics on paper, your generation should be the most profoundly connected, supported, and socially vibrant group of humans to ever walk the earth. You have access to instant messaging, infinite group chats, video calls across oceans, public forums for every niche, hobby imaginable, followers, likes, streaks, and direct messages. You can broadcast your thoughts to thousands of people with a single tap of your thumb. But let's step away from the data screens and look at the actual reality of your life. Let's be completely honest with each other behind closed doors. Are you lonely? The data tells us that young people today are experiencing an epidemic of isolation, loneliness, anxiety, and depression that completely eclipses any generation that came before them. We are more connected than ever, yet we feel completely abandoned, misunderstood, and detached from the world around us. Why is that? How do we explain that massive, painful paradox? It's because digital connection is the social equivalent of cotton candy. It looks big, it looks colorful, it's sweet, and it immediately grabs your attention. But the second you put it in your mouth, it melts into nothing. It has absolutely zero nutritional value. It gives you a temporary spike of sugar, but it leaves your body starving for actual sustenance. Human beings did not evolve to communicate through text bubbles, disembodied voice notes, and curated grids of edited photos. For hundreds of thousands of years, our nervous systems developed to read the incredibly subtle, beautiful, complex language of real-world human presence. We evolved to read the microscopic shifts in someone's facial muscles, the tone and cadence of their voice, the positioning of their shoulders, the warmth of their energy, and the profound shared experience of mutual eye contact. When you sit across a table from another human being and look into their eyes, your nervous systems literally begin to sync up. You experience empathy, resonance, and true co-regulation. That is where deep trust, deep friendship, and deep love are born. But what do we do now? We replace those rich, multidimensional, deeply nourishing, real-world interactions with flat, two-dimensional digital ghosts. Think about what it looks like when you hang out with your friends in the real world now. You all meet up at a restaurant, or someone's apartment, or a park. For the first 5 minutes, there's some energy. You say hello, you hug, you exchange some quick updates. But then, inevitably, a lull occurs in the conversation. A natural, normal moment of silence happens. In the past, that silence was where the magic happened. That silence forced you to dig deeper, to ask a more meaningful question, to tell a funny story, or to simply share the comfort of being together. But now, the second that silence hits, what happens? Every single person at the table pulls out their phone. He acts out the motion, hunched over, staring intently down at his palm, completely closed off. Suddenly, you're physically sitting next to each other, but mentally and emotionally, you are miles apart, scattered across different sectors of the internet. You are in the same room, but you are completely alone. You are sacrificing the rare, precious reality of the human beings right in front of you, for the sake of looking at digital ghosts of people you barely know or don't even care about. And it gets worse because that phone doesn't just distract you from real relationships. It acts as a protective shield against the very vulnerability that real relationships require. Building real friendships and finding real love is a messy, terrifying business. It requires you to step out into the open, to risk rejection, to look awkward, to navigate clumsy conversations, and to show up as your flawed, unedited self. When you have a phone, you never have to take that risk. If a conversation feels a little awkward, you can just retreat into your screen. If you feel nervous about approaching someone you think is attractive, you don't have to walk over and say hello. You can just go home and swipe through a dating app, hiding behind a profile that you spent hours filtering and curating. You are protecting yourself from the discomfort of real-world interaction, but in doing so, you are also locking yourself out of the rewards. You are losing the ability to read a room, to hold an engaging conversation, to listen deeply, to resolve conflict face-to-face, and to build an unshakable community. You are trading a life of deep, soulful ride-or-die relationships for a fragile network of digital acquaintances who wouldn't show up to help you move your couch, let alone stand by you during a crisis. Now, let's talk about the practical side of life. And let's talk about your future, your career, and your financial state. I know you want to build a life of independence. You don't want to spend the next 40 years grinding away in a cubicle, making someone else rich, constantly stressed about whether you can afford your rent, your groceries, or a decent vacation. You want to have options. You want to build security, build a business, create art that sells, or master a profession that gives you freedom over your schedule. But when you tell me that you don't have the time or the energy or the resources to make that happen, I want you to open up your phone settings, go to the screen time tab, and look at that number. Let's look at it without judgment, just as cold, hard data. The average person right now is pulling down a screen time of roughly 4 to 5 hours a day on their personal device. And let's be entirely honest with each other. If you are including the passive background scrolling, the late night sessions in bed, and the midday distractions, for a lot of people in this room, that number is closer to 6, 7, or 8 hours every single day. But let's be incredibly conservative. Let's just use 4 hours a day. It doesn't sound like that much when it's broken up into little 10-minute chunks throughout the day, right? It feels harmless. Let's do some basic math. 4 hours a day multiplied by 7 days a week is 28 hours a week. That is not a casual distraction. That is a serious part-time job. Let's take it further. 28 hours a week multiplied by 52 weeks in a year is 1,456 hours a year. Think about that number for a second. Let it really sit in your gut. 1,456 hours of raw, unadulterated time. If you were to take 1,456 hours and dedicate them with focused, intense energy toward any single pursuit in the real world, what could you accomplish? In 1,456 hours, you could learn to speak a foreign language fluently from scratch. In 1,456 hours, you could build a fully functioning, profitable e-commerce business or side hustle from the ground up. In 1,456 hours, you could learn to write clean, production-grade software code and land a high-paying remote job. In 1,456 hours, you could completely transform your physical body, going from out of shape to an elite level of strength and cardiovascular health. In 1,456 hours, you could write a full-length novel, record an entire album, or master the art of video editing. Instead of doing any of those things, instead of investing that massive block of wealth back into yourself, your skills, your bank account, and your future, what do you do with it? You give it away. You hand it over, completely for free, to a handful of multi-billion-dollar tech conglomerates in Silicon Valley. You are literally standing in the middle of the marketplace of life, holding a briefcase filled with your most precious, finite, irreplaceable resource, your time, and you are handing handfuls of it to strangers who do not care about you in exchange for a temporary numbing of your brain. And what are you consuming during those 1,456 hours? This is the most painful irony of the entire situation. You're sitting on your couch, wearing sweatpants, in an apartment you can barely afford, using your precious time to watch other people live their best lives. You are watching influencers drive sports cars through the hills of Monaco. You are watching entrepreneurs talk about how they made millions of dollars. You're watching fitness models travel to tropical islands. You're watching artists display their finished masterpieces. You're consuming what I like to call wealth corn and lifestyle corn. You're consuming their success, their wealth, and their hard work, and in the process, you're making them incredibly wealthy. Every time you watch their video, every time you click their link, every time you linger on their post for an extra 3 seconds, their ad revenue goes up, their stock price increases, their brand valuation skyrockets, and your life stays exactly the same. You are funding their dreams with the currency of your life. They are winning the game, and you're sitting in the bleachers, cheering them on, while your own field grows over with weeds. It is a terrible bargain. It is a completely lopsided trade, and it is keeping you broke, dependent, and frustrated. Look, I've laid out some hard truths over the last few minutes, and if you're sitting out there feeling a heavy sense of guilt or shame or self-loathing right now, I need you to stop, take a deep breath, and let that go. I did not come out here to make you feel bad about yourself. And more importantly, you need to understand that this widespread addiction is not simply a personal failure of willpower on your part. You are not weak-willed, you're not stupid, and you're not uniquely broken. You need to understand the sheer scale of the forces arrayed against you. When you open up your phone and click on a social media app, you're not just entering a neutral digital space. You are stepping into an arena where you, a solitary human being with a fragile biological brain that evolved to survive in nature, are going head-to-head against a multi-trillion-dollar apparatus. Behind that screen sits some of the most sophisticated technology ever built by human hands. There are warehouses full of supercomputers running advanced artificial intelligence algorithms. There are teams of thousands of the most brilliant minds on Earth, data scientists, behavioral psychologists, neuroscientists, software engineers, whose entire job, whose sole metric of professional success, is to figure out how to hijack your brain's biological reward pathways. They don't care about your happiness. They don't care about your career. They don't care about your financial independence. They care about one thing and one thing only: attention extraction. They need your eyeballs on that glass for as many minutes of the day as physically possible, because your attention is the product they sell to advertisers. And how do they do it? They designed the phone to function exactly like a Las Vegas slot machine. Think about the physical mechanics of using an app. When you want to refresh your feed, what do? You place your thumb at the top of the screen, you pull down, and you release. He mimics the motion with his hand. That is the exact same physical movement as pulling the arm of a slot machine. And what happens when you release? There's a microsecond of delay, a deliberate, engineered pause designed to build anticipation in your nervous system. Your brain releases a hit of anticipation dopamine. What am I going to get? Is it going to be a jackpot? And then the screen loads. Sometimes you get nothing, just an old post you've already seen or a boring update from a stranger. But sometimes you get a jackpot, a notification that someone liked your photo, a hilarious video that makes you laugh out loud, a direct message from someone you like, or a controversial piece of news that makes you feel a rush of anger. That is what psychologists call variable reward scheduling. It is the single most powerful mechanism of addiction known to science. If a slot machine paid out $5 every single time you pulled the lever, you would get bored of it very quickly. But because it pays out unpredictably, because you never know if the next swipe is going to be the one that gives you the rush, you become completely hooked. You keep pulling the lever over and over and over, hours on end, searching for that next hit. They engineered the infinite scroll so your brain never encounters a natural stopping point. In the old days, when you read a newspaper or a book, you eventually reached the end of the page or the end of the chapter. It was a natural psychological boundary that forced you to pause and ask, Do I want to keep going, or should I do something else? The infinite scroll completely eliminated those boundaries. The content just keeps loading forever, flowing directly into your brain, bypassing your conscious decision-making faculties. They designed the notification badges to be a bright, aggressive, alarmist red because that color triggers an ancient evolutionary threat response in the human brain. It signals danger, urgency, fruit, or blood. Your brain cannot look at that little red circle without feeling a deep, subconscious compulsion to click it and clear the alert. You are a biological organism up against a godlike digital supercomputer that knows your psychological blind spots better than you know them yourself. It knows exactly what kind of content will make you angry, what kind of content will make you insecure, and what kind of content will keep you scrolling at 2 a.m. when you should be sleeping. Of course you're losing that battle. Anyone would. But acknowledging that the game is completely rigged against you is the absolute first step toward winning it. Once you realize that the phone is a casino designed to pick your pocket, you can stop walking up to the slot machines and start playing a completely different game. So let's talk about solutions. Let's talk about how we take the steering wheel back. I'm not a fan of extreme, unsustainable lifestyle changes. If I tell you tonight to go home, delete every single account you own, smash your phone with a hammer, and buy a 2004 flip phone, you might do it for about 3 days out of sheer guilt and motivation. But by day 4, the isolation will set in, the inconvenience will become too high. You'll feel completely cut off from your world, and you'll go buy a new smartphone and fall right back into the exact same trap, feeling even more defeated. We don't need a revolution. We need an evolution. We live in the modern world. You need your phone for maps, for banking, for coordinating with your job, for staying in touch with your family. It is a necessary part of modern infrastructure, but we are going to change the power dynamic. We are going to put you back in the driver's seat, and we are going to re-relegate that phone to its proper place, as an inanimate object that serves your goals, not its own. Here is your practical, real-world, step-by-step blueprint to take back your life, starting the very second you leave this building tonight. These are small changes, but if you implement them consistently, they will completely alter the trajectory of your next 5 years. Step 1. Go grayscale. I want you to go into your phone's settings, go to accessibility, then display, then color filters, and turn your entire phone to grayscale. Turn it completely black and white. It sounds incredibly simple, almost silly, but it is a psychological game changer. The apps on your phone are designed with hyper-saturated, brilliant, candy-like colors, specifically to stimulate your visual cortex and make your brain crave them. Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube look beautiful, like a digital amusement park. The moment you turn the screen to dull, flat, lifeless shades of gray, the psychological spell is broken. The short-form videos look incredibly boring. The filtered photos look uninspiring. The interface stops looking like a casino and starts looking like a tool, like a microwave or a calculator. You will find yourself opening an app, looking at it for 30 seconds, realizing there is absolutely nothing there for you, and putting it down without a second thought. You kill the visual reward loop instantly. Step 2. Nuke the notifications. I want you to go into your notification settings and turn off every single notification on your device, with exactly 2 exceptions. Phone calls and direct text messages from real, living human beings in your life. Every other app, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, news apps, games, sports alerts, email, needs to be silenced completely. No banners, no badges, no sounds, no vibrations. Think about why those notifications exist. They are the app reaching out from your pocket, tapping you on the shoulder and saying, "Hey, look at me. Someone you don't know just posted a video. Someone left a comment. Come back and give us your attention." You are allowing random algorithms to interrupt your work, your study, your conversations, and your sleep whenever they want. Nuke them. From now on, you decide when you want to look at an app. If you want to check social media, you open it intentionally, look at it, and close it. The app no longer has the power to call you back on its own timeline. You break the external trigger. Step 3. Evict the phone from the bedroom. This is non-negotiable. I want you to go online or go to a local store and spend $10 on a cheap, basic, old-school, ugly alarm clock, the kind that plugs into the wall and does nothing but tell the time and make a buzzing sound in the morning. From this day forward, your phone is officially evicted from your bedroom overnight. When you go to sleep, your phone stays in the kitchen or the living room or the bathroom, charging on the counter. Think about your current bedtime routine. You lie down in bed, exhausted from a long day. You tell yourself, "I'll just scroll for 5 minutes to unwind." You lift the phone above your face. The bright blue light shines directly into your eyes, suppressing your brain's natural melatonin production, telling your body that it's daytime. You start scrolling. 1 hour passes, 2 hours pass. It's 1:30 a.m. Your mind is buzzing with random useless information. Your sleep quality is completely compromised, and you wake up the next morning feeling like you got hit by a truck. And what's the first thing you do when you wake up? Before your eyes are even fully open, before you've even greeted the morning or stretched your muscles, you reach over to your nightstand, grab the phone, and flood your waking brain with notifications, emails, bad news, and curated images of people who look better than you. You start your day in a state of immediate stress, reaction, and inadequacy. Evict it. Let your bedroom be a sanctuary for sleep, rest, and peace. Read a physical book before bed. Wake up in the morning. Stretch, drink a glass of water, look out the window, let your brain slowly come online naturally, and then, and only then, walk out to the kitchen and check your device. Step 4. Embrace the 20-minute boredom rule. Next time you're out in the world and you feel that familiar, uncomfortable sensation of boredom or mild anxiety creeping in, whether you're waiting for a friend, sitting on a train, standing in a long line, or sitting at home on a Sunday afternoon, I want you to make a conscious pact with yourself. Look at your watch and give yourself exactly 20 minutes. For 20 minutes, you're going to sit shoulder to shoulder with that discomfort. You're not allowed to reach into your pocket. You're just going to sit there, look around the room, breathe, and let yourself feel bored. The first 5 minutes will feel incredibly frustrating. Your hand will twitch. You will feel restless and impatient. But if you can cross that bridge, if you can make it past the 10-minute mark, something absolutely miraculous happens. Your nervous system begins to settle down. The static noise in your head clears up. Your brain realizes, oh wait, we aren't in danger. We don't need a constant stream of information to survive right now. And in that quiet space, your creativity will begin to wake up from its long coma. You will start noticing details in the room you never saw before. You will remember a creative idea you forgot about months ago. You will solve a problem that you've been struggling with at work. You will feel a sudden, deep sense of gratitude for the simple fact of being alive. Boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the incubator of human genius. Stop suffocating it. Part 7. Your life is waiting for you. He stands up from the stool, steps around it, and walks slow, deliberate steps toward the absolute edge of the stage. He drops his voice slightly, speaking with absolute, raw sincerity, his eyes sweeping across the entire room. I want to close our chat tonight by asking you to perform a simple mental experiment. I want you to close your eyes for a brief moment, if you're comfortable with that, and paint a vivid mental picture of 2 entirely different futures. Look at the first path. Imagine yourself 5 years from now if absolutely nothing changes. If you keep doing exactly what you're doing right now. If you keep maintaining a 4 to 6 hour daily screen time habit. If you keep allowing the algorithms to feed you your opinions, your validation, your entertainment, and your distractions. If you keep reaching for that digital pacifier, the second life gets a little bit quiet, a little bit awkward, or a little bit difficult. Where are you going to be in 5 years? You'll be sitting in the exact same spot. You'll have the exact same level of income. You'll have the exact same shallow, unfulfilling digital connections. You'll be carrying the exact same heavy, suffocating cloud of anxiety and unfulfilled potential in your chest. The only difference is that you will be 5 years older, 5 years more tired, and carrying a massive, heavy, crushing burden of regret, because you will realize that you let the best, highest energy years of your youth slide down an infinite digital drain. Now take a deep breath, clear that image away, and look at the second path. Imagine a version of you who makes a stand tonight. A version of you who walks out of this auditorium, puts that phone on grayscale, turns off the notifications, and reclaims those 28 hours a week. Imagine who you could become if you took that massive mountain of time, over 1,400 hours a year, and invested it entirely back into your own mind, your own body, your own skills, and your own community. Imagine yourself in 5 years on that path. Look at the clarity in your eyes. Look at the strength in your posture. Look at the deep, ride-or-die relationships you've built because you were fully present with the people around you. Look at the thriving business, the masterfully developed skill, or the financial independence you've built because you had the rare, superpower-like capacity for deep, sustained focus in a world full of distracted people. That person is a force of nature. That person is completely unstoppable. They are resilient, they are peaceful, they are wealthy in every sense of the word, and they are living a life of true, deep, profound adventure. And the most beautiful, exciting thing about that picture, that person is not some fictional character in a movie. That person is you. They are waiting inside you right now, fully formed, ready to take over. They are just buried beneath layers of digital noise, cheap notifications, and algorithmic clutter. You have so much incredible potential inside you. I see it every single day when I look at your generation. You are smart, you are empathetic, you are creative, and you want to do good things in this world. But you are drowning your own greatness in a sea of triviality. You are trading your birthright of an extraordinary life for a handful of digital beans. It is time to wake up. It's time to look up. The world is out there right now, outside those doors. It is beautiful. It is messy. It is challenging. It is full of real adventures, real wealth, real connections, and infinite opportunity. And it is happening right in front of your face, not down in the palm of your hand. Put the phone in your pocket. Go home, set up your boundaries, and take your power back. Go look people in the eye. Go embrace the stillness. Go build the life you actually deserve to live. I believe in you. I'm rooting for you every single step of the way. Go get 'em.